The HRV first appeared in 1999, and remember, this was actually the MPV era, so the subcompact hadn't even been born. To put it bluntly, Honda were well ahead of the curve. But that had its challenges because it wasn't the most popular vehicle. I mean, they even released one with 3 doors. Move forward to 2015 and you have the second generation, and by this time it actually fitted into the market. Jump forward a few years to 2021 and we have the new HRV. I'm Ben Quirk, welcome to Planet Auto. When the HRV first hit the scene, it was actually known as the Joy Machine, and it stood for High Recreational Vehicle. Now the biggest change to the HRV is there's only one powertrain. An eHEV system built on the Jazz platform. So you think, oh, it's got the same powertrain. Well, yeah, it's got the same engine, a 1.5 iVTEC. It's inspired by 20 years of F1 technology, but it hasn't got the same battery setup. Instead, it's got more cells, and it's got powerful motors as well. So you have 2 electric motors, one that propels and one that takes power from the engine and converts it into electric for the motor. And the other thing is the FK8 Civic Type R box that I absolutely love and would arguably say it's the best manual box in the world, has gone. Meaning there's only one transmission, the eCVT. Now yeah, CVTs aren't my favourite things, but the one thing that they are is very economical. Annabelle had 3 figures and I even had 75 to the gallon. It claims around 65, so it'd be interesting to see what we can actually get on a full road trip. And there's a whole host of new trims. The range starts with the Elegance and that's around 28,000. Then you've got the Advance for around 30,000 and the Advanced Style for around 33. And dependent on which trim you choose depends on what options you get. For example, the top of the range you get things like 2-tone roof, bigger wheels. Our vehicle is in the Advanced trim, meaning we get power tailgate, heated steering wheel, amongst other things. You're probably looking at this and thinking, that's a fancy paint job. Well, this is Sunlight White Pearl. If you want metallic, about 625 quid extra, and if you go for something like the Pearl, then that's about 825. Not particularly bad pricing, to be honest. Compared to the previous gen, there are some enhancements, including the steering, the suspension and the brakes, overall giving it a better driving experience. Invariably you think, hybrid technology, that's going to take up more space in the cabin. Well no, it doesn't. Because of the flat floor, it does absolutely nothing to the cabin or the boot space. The only thing that will compromise the boot space is if you go for the top of the range and you get a sub, but that's it.
Wow, what a difference to the previous gen. It's got a new front bumper, front grille, new sculpting on the lights, the works. It's had a complete My Fair Lady transformation. It's elegant. And that's quite apt considering that the first trim in this new range is elegance. The biggest difference has got to be the grille. You've got this futuristic type slat design, and with the bigger badge it's more prominent and it really stands out. And the blue highlight in the middle denotes that it's a hybrid. Yes, it's elegant, but it also has this more aggressive look with the fact that you've got a partial clamshell bonnet, you've got these new sloping headlights. Yes, the bumper is a little bit different. It's now more minimalist, which is well within the credo that they go by from the Japanese culture of totally minimalist. And you'll see that front, back and interior. We've got automatic LED headlights with high beam assist. We've got the Advanced trim, which gives us the LED fog lights as well. The top of the range will also give you the cornering lights. We've got sequential indicators, rain sensing wipers, and with the Advanced you get them heated as well. And when it comes to safety, Honda have been really clever. All trims have Honda sensing. AEB, collision detection, lane keep assist, the list goes on. You've also got adaptive cruise control, parking sensors on all 3 trims. How convenient is that? We've got 18-inch alloy wheels with a mid-profile tyre. And thanks to that enhanced suspension, you can hardly feel any kind of bumps when you go over a pothole. It kind of eats them up. Black cladding gives it a sporty look, and as you can see, there's quite a gap here, which means you can get a little bit adventurous on your time off. This paint as well really makes it stand out because you get different facets of colour from the different angles that you look at. Just have a look for yourself. Electrically operated power folding door mirrors, as we've got the Advanced trim, we've got the ones that tilt when you reverse, making it easier for you to manoeuvre. Especially from this angle, you can see that raised ride height, which gives you a fantastic driving position. Unfortunately, in this country, we don't get all-wheel drive. This chrome trim adds to that elegance I was talking about. From this angle, you can really see the sloping roofline, but it doesn't affect headroom in the back. Ben will cover more of that when he does the interior. The only thing that carries over from the previous gen are the hidden door handles for the rear doors. As Ben mentioned, they're enhanced brakes, which gives you better stopping power. The discs all round, ventilated at the front, solid at the back. As in the front, so the back. And by that I mean that the design language is completely different in the rear. For starters, you've got this light bar. And it does light up all the way across. The rear lenses are slimmer, adding to that understated elegant look. And yes, you have a new bumper. It's less chunky, it's more minimalist, which is exactly what that credo of Japanese design is looking for. And the rear lenses are now LED. You've also got parking sensors and a reversing camera. It's finished off nicely with a spoiler, a high-level brake light and a shark fin aerial.
Now that's what you call a raised ride height. That means it can be adventurous, like Annabelle said, but it also makes it easier to get into. And we've got keyless entry, meaning if I just do this, as long as I've got the key on my person, the mirrors fold out, and you can open the door. Nice wide opening. Immediately you can see some serious changes. The thing about the Civic and the Jazz was the interior wasn't quite as good as it could have been. This is lovely. It's like a mix between soft and hard. This is plush. This is quite a wide opening, so I think that should make it easier. Yeah, very nice. And a grab handle, perfect. My word, this has completely changed. For a start, there's rotary dials as far as the eye can see. And look at these on the vents, very cool. Leather wrapped steering wheel, and it's heated because we've got the Advance. It's like being in a completely different vehicle. The earlier HRV, dare I say, was a little dated. And the way it's changed from the previous gen, as Annabelle mentioned, it's far more minimalist, and the addition of rotary dials pretty much everywhere, because one of the biggest, I suppose it was complaints with the infotainment, was the fact that they removed the rotary dial. Well, they've put that back, and then everything else is rotary as well, which makes it nice and easy to operate pretty much anything in here. Push button start, and these recessed buttons, there's one here, so you can lighten and darken your cluster. The construction is nice and solid. Yeah, down here you'll find harder plastic. Here, plush, and I do like the addition of this chrome trim. It just makes it look a little elegant. I mean, just look at the flow of the dash here. And everything has, in a word, its place. Decent cup holders here, your drive modes here, economy, sport, normal. We've got descent control. It's finished with some really interesting materials. For example, this, it's kind of hard but soft, a bit like the doors, but it's really good quality. This is padded. Well, we nipped down to the Lancaster Honda dealership over the weekend because we ended up with a puncture. But that gave me a chance to look at some of the other interior options. For example, you can get far lighter seats. You can even get lighter areas of this as well. This is more what I call the dark sporty edition. And this is an eCVT. It uses the Atkinson cycle system. And you've got park, reverse, drive and brake. And that's where you utilise the regen. Now, it'll give you an element of braking, but if you want to up that or down it, you can use the paddles on the back of the wheel. Now the cluster, really easy to read and completely different to the previous gen. For a start, it's fully digital and analog, but I like that. Digital analog just gives it an old school look, but it makes it very clear and it's easy to see information. You've got your fuel computer, and that will show you things like how the hybrid system's working, when it's putting power back into the battery, when it's using the petrol engine, yada yada. It's straightforward to use the climate control, and you do get that on the Elegance too. And that's the thing about Honda. What they've done is tried to distribute a decent level of tech across the range. Well done, Honda. Lovely rotary dials, great feeling switchgear. We've got a 9-inch infotainment screen. It's got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto and DAB radio. You can also set some of the car's settings. It's easy to operate and it's responsive. And if you upgrade, you can even get a sub in the boot. You've got reach and rake in the steering wheel. At 6'3", I've got absolutely no problem with headroom. And I've got a footrest down here. It's a comfortable driving position, it really is, especially with this plush armrest. The seats are comfortable, they're supportive, and you've got an armrest in the centre. And there are no electric seats. On this little panel down here, you can operate your power tailgate, you can turn off your parking sensors, and you can operate your rear wiper. And interestingly, you can adjust your headlamp height here. So that points out to me that this can probably tow. Decent door bin, glove box. Well, not so bad. One thing that's missing from our car is a panoramic. We've also got a frameless auto dimming mirror and some matte reading lights. Stepping into the rear, this is a decent long door. I think it's longer than the previous gen, to be honest. And look at this, a tucked away door handle like Annabelle mentioned. Door opens nice and wide, and you can see I've been playing around with the seats. And you do have magic seats in here as well, so we'll look at that a bit later. The door opens relatively wide, and that's a decent opening too. Yeah, this is definitely a different material to the front, but it's good quality, and you've got a plush armrest, perfect. Climbing in. Well, I do need to dip a bit for this, but once in, that's rather comfortable. And I've got about an inch clearance above my head sat like this. Perfect. And look at that, I can get my feet under the seat. And considering this is set for me at 6'3", look at the legroom. It's like being in a limousine. I can actually see through the glass. I did think because the roof arcs over a bit that I might be looking at a chunk of roof, but no. Sometimes in the rear they do scrimp a bit, but this is very well trimmed. Comfortable seats, supportive. You can't really say that about rear seats. I mean, just look at this. Also, we've got pull down armrest. I am a fan of this fabric. It's rather funky. Yeah, yet again, no padding here, but that seems to be a trait of Honda cars. Oh, it's trimmed very nicely. This lightens it up. And look at the cup holder. It's halfway up the door. That's clever thinking. And a padded area for your arm. Lovely. It's a rarity to see a grab handle above every door, but that just makes it so much easier for anybody with mobility challenges. Storage area, USBs and vents. Oh, look at these. Perfect. Because that's it. It doesn't have a rear light per se, but the way that these are positioned, they're perfect for the magic seats. 4 people on a long journey would be very comfortable, especially with this. Yeah, it's supportive, it's roomy, and it's not too dark because you've got a light headliner. And also, if you've noticed, these windows are quite big. They're quite slim, but they're pretty big. Finally, you've got ISOFIXes and airbags around the vehicle. There's magic seats. I mean, they're absolutely fabulous in the Jazz. So let's have a play with those. I also don't need to take care when I climb out because we've got doors that cover the sills. The benefit with magic seats means you've got storage under here, but also you can do clever things like this. Once you've pushed it up, remember to push this down, otherwise it won't lock in place. You could get, say, a large plant here and still carry a passenger. To release, lift this, and then just carefully guide it back down, and it locks in place. There's various ways to open the tailgate. You can do a little jig like this, and it will do something at some point. Or you can use the button on the key fob or the button on the dash. Once open, yeah, it's not the biggest boot in the world, but it's perfect for your daily maneuvers like shopping. You'll also see we've got an HRV tray in here, so perfect for wellies, wet dogs, large cats, you name it. Storage point here, storage point there. Tethering hook and shopping bag hooks, and we've got 2 rear lights. If you lift up the tray and then lift up the carpet, look at that, for extra storage, perfect for things like plants. Now you're probably thinking, where's the inflation kit? Ta-da! If you take a closer look at the power tailgate button, you can see that you can hold this to set to a certain height. Honda really are intelligent. For a start, you don't have to remove your parcel shelf, it's just up here. But the downside to that is you can't really put anything on it because it'll just go boom. Now you've seen the magic seats go up. Now this is how you drop them forward. Pull this little lever in and the whole thing moves, and it reveals a completely flat loading area with big chunks of carpet to cover. So it's perfect for things like mountain bikes, stacks of wood, you name it. The kind of things we used to carry in our Civic. It was quite alarming. Welcome behind the wheel of the new Honda HRV. Under the bonnet we've got a 1.5i VTEC engine and 2 electric motors, because yes, this uses the eHEV system that we're familiar with that was in the Jazz, but they've just put some more cells in and given it bigger electric motors. You've got an eCVT and it uses the Atkinson cycle, and there is no longer that FK8 manual. So you have 1 electric motor to propel, and then 1 that converts power from the engine into electricity to store in the batteries to then feed the EV motor. So it's what you'd call hybrid, but you don't charge it.
I found it so seamless when I was driving it.
Well, that's it. it differentiates, doesn't it, between 3 driving modes. You've got hybrid, you've got full EV, and then you've got combustion, and depending on what you're doing, depends on how it acts. It's what's called intelligent, isn't it, when it comes to hybrid systems. So for example, when we're plodding around these roads now, we're in EV mode. But if it gets a little steeper, it will then switch to combustion mode. And then if I need to put my power down really fast, say flooring it, it will then use both the electric motor and the petrol engine.
It's seamless. It went from full combustion to hybrid to EV so smoothly that you don't even notice it's happening.
No. Well, that's what we recognised last time, isn't it? And because of that, it made it really economical. I mean, it boasts around 65, but I got 75.
And I was in 3 figures at one point, so I had to interrupt you there.
I was going to say, no, and that was just plodding around, wasn't it? If you take it onto the motorway, well, then you'll get around 45 to 50 to the gallon travelling at motorway speeds.
The economy and the driving performance is also enhanced by the driving modes you get in the car as well. Well, that's it. You've got sport, normal and econ.
And that does make it far more lively. If you've noticed, we're in B mode, so that means we're in regen mode, and we can change the regen level using the paddles. Now, one thing to note is, if you're in B, adaptive won't work, but as soon as you put it in D, then you've got the adaptive that you're used to. It is a fantastic system, it really is, especially the lane keep assist. It will virtually steer the car. With any kind of CVT, this is what you get. Engine noise, but it's only when you plant it.
You've got sport, which is going to be what you're going to use.
Yep.
Normal and econ.
Saying that, I'm going to engage it now. Well, that makes it more lively, the sport mode, it really does. Far more responsive. And the other thing is, it didn't really affect economy that much either. Bombing around in sport mode pretty much for the last 6 days, it's not dropped below 43. When it comes to the car's settings, you don't set them through the infotainment, you do it through the cluster. At this speed, on dodgy roads, you can hear a bit of road noise, but if you're getting a decent bit of tarmac, it's pretty much silent. It's well refined in here, and at no point can I hear wind noise. That's always a plus. Steering, nice and direct, and yeah, feedback's very good.
Well, they've enhanced it, haven't they? Sorry to interrupt you there, but they have enhanced the steering.
Well, yeah. In the Jazz, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't as direct as it could be.
And they seem to have tightened that up for this,
well, it was strange, wasn't it? It was hard to explain. But it's only when you get in this one now and you do things like that you can see that, yeah, they've really tightened it up. What they've managed to achieve is, well, it just feels far more connected to the road. And that's the other thing about this vehicle. They've made the body more rigid. Now, that doesn't affect passenger ride or experience, but what it does do is make the driver feel connected to the vehicle. So it's far more engaging. Now, from the previous gen, they've done some fair old enhancements, everything from the suspension to the brakes. And you can tell it is far more of a driver's SUV.
What about the Honda sensing?
Everything from mitigation to lane keep assist, adaptive cruise,
traffic sign recognition,
AEB.
And it's on all trims, isn't it?
It is. Getting up to speed isn't really a problem. But the one thing you do notice is the engine noise does ramp up a fair bit, and you do get a little bit of road noise in here. But we are on 18-inch wheels. At motorway speeds, yeah, don't expect lightning acceleration when you floor it. But to be perfectly blunt, that's not what it's built for. It's built for economy, and it does that very well. The HRV is an impressive SUV, and it's considerably better than the previous gen. It's more fun to drive. It also boasts NCAP 5, decent servicing plans, and a great warranty. Overall, it's a big improvement on the previous gen, and it looks far better.